At this time, I will call the July 23rd meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. I'd like for everybody to please stand for Jim Denton's invocation and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance as I may.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for life. We thank you for the opportunity to live in a land of freedom that we have to choose. We lift up our president. We lift up those that help him. We lift up those that take care of this state. And this morning we come to ask that you will also be with this Board of Supervisors, that they will come together and work together for the good of the people in this community and for this community. Thank you for such a beautiful place to be able to live, to work, and to share. For we ask all these things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to today's meeting. Our agenda calls for citizens' time at this time. I have one person who has signed up, and Tim, I know who you are, but these are
Tim Best.
Best. We couldn't look. Okay, I wasn't sure what that. Tim Best from Wythe County Community Hospital. Tim, if you want to come forward.
Thank you very much. Maybe I'll improve my penmanship. And firstly, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And secondly, thank you for all the good work you do for our county. I'm here because there's an opportunity to speak as it relates to the Department of Health. I appreciate your transparency, and I've had sidebar when I came in, and now I have more information than I did before I walked through the door, so I'll change my position a little bit. And I'll just ask the Board of Supervisors to, if there is an opportunity to redeed or rebid that piece of property, I would implore you to consider that. We would like to have another opportunity to bid on that property. Our initial bid was based on not only fair market value, but in the letter, and I think you received the letter. Appreciate your willingness to accept my phone call as well. When the hospital does a prepaid lease with the foundation, and everybody here I'm sure is familiar with the Wythe Bland Foundation that holds around $50 million in assets and gives out somewhere around $2.5 million a year to the community. When the hospital does a prepaid lease for a piece of property, we do it through the foundation, and that money goes directly into the foundation, which goes directly into the community. So if my bid is $5 and I give it as a prepaid lease to the foundation, then that $5 goes out to the community, which compounds that number by 2. It's helpful for the foundation. It's helpful to our community. So I want you to consider that, those two things. If you were to consider if there is a redeeding of this property, and certainly this is not an attempt to give Mr. Smith a hard time. I think the only thing you can accuse him of is being a good businessman. I just would ask the Board of Supervisors to consider if there is going to be a redeeding or a possibility of a redeeding, that you give us an opportunity to bid on that as well. So.
Now, you're aware that we're going to have a public hearing, so I will give you an opportunity to speak.
But that's all I'll have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I was signed in, that's what I was signing for.
Okay, you understood.
Yeah,
It
no, I
says
guess I
here that-
misunderstood. Should I have waited until the public hearing?
I think we got your point.
Yeah.
It's coming up next anyway. I just want to let you
Okay.
know, when I open the public hearing, if there's something you thought of, you might want to say, you're welcome to,
Okay.
podium.
Okay, and you'll just take that information and plug it into the
Okay.
right spot. Thank you.
No problem.
And I do apologize for that. Thank you.
No one else has signed up for citizens' time, and Ms. Moore, I assume if you want to speak during the public hearing?
That's correct.
Okay. Seeing that no one else has signed up, I will close citizens' time at this time, and we will move to the public hearing. The Wythe County Board of Supervisors will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, July the 23rd, 2013 at 9:05 in the boardroom of the Wythe County Administration Office at 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear comments from citizens regarding the sale and disposal of real property, to include the former Wythe County Health Department building located at 750 West Ridge Street, Wytheville, Virginia, and other properties currently owned by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors. Specific inquiry should be directed to the county administrator at 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia, 24382, or by calling 223-4500. At this time, I will open the public hearing and entertain anyone who would like to speak. Ms. Moore?
Good morning to all of you all, and thank you for the opportunity to come before you and speak at the public hearing. I want to say that I certainly, as always, want to start by saying how much we appreciate the support of the Board of Supervisors and the work that Mount Rogers Community Services Board does in our community. And I just wanted to comment and really support a lot of what Tim has already said, but also not having the benefit of sidebar conversation that he had earlier, just say that I'm a little confused about the process of having a public hearing now in relationship to the health department, since the request for proposals has already been extended, and Mount Rogers, of course, submitted a proposal. But nonetheless, I do want to comment as if the public hearing had preceded that process, and just share with you that Mount Rogers continues to be extremely interested in the health department property. In fact, we've been talking with the Board of Supervisors for the last 20 years about this property, expressing our interest in it as part of our long-range plan and commitment to the citizens of Wythe County. We actually, over the years, have been operating under an understanding that we were going to have the right of first refusal on the property when it did become available, but I understand how things change and understand the process as it's taken place now. But did just want to comment to you as if I was making this statement prior to the request for proposals coming out, that we continue to have that interest in partnering with the county. Also see that as an extension of our mutual responsibility as good stewards of public funds. We would be extending our operation into the health department property as a community behavioral health center. So I just wanted to make that comment, and also agreeing with Tim in that if there was any possibility for the process to be changed and opened up again, we'd certainly like to be able to compete in that process. So that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak for the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Board members, does anyone have anything to say before we move on?
Well, are we going to have further closed session discussion about this issue?
I would assume we could.
Because I'm totally in the dark about what's going on here, and I think most of the board members are.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I can give you a little history, I guess.
I appreciate that.
So what happened was the decision was made by the board to transfer that property, to sell it, because the county did not need that property. The advertisement went out for requests for bids, for proposals to purchase that property. You received 3 or 4 bids to buy. The high bidder was identified, which was Mr. Smith or one of his companies. The county entered negotiations with him as far as signing a contract to purchase that property, which was signed. Had a certain amount of time to perform. Mr. Smith came and performed on that, wrote a check for the property. We signed the deed to the property. The deed was recorded, and in the process of obtaining title insurance for the owner, we discovered that we had neglected to have the public hearing to transfer the property. So in essence, he has title to the property, but he does not have a clean title that's insurable by the title insurance company because the public hearing was not held. So between myself and the attorney who handled the closing for Mr. Smith, trying to clarify the title, to clean up that title for the owner, we decided to come back and request the board have this public hearing to transfer the land. Obviously, if you decide that that's not what you want to do, you can do that. We did have a contract. We did perform on the contract. At this point, we're just trying to clarify the title for the new owner. So probably after this public hearing, we would need to do what they call either a deed of confirmation or a deed of correction, basically just saying that we did go back and have the public hearing and we're transferring it to Mr. Smith under the contract that we had signed with him to convey that property to him. So really the public hearing essentially is clarifying the title that has already been transferred to Mr. Smith.
And as part of that discussion, Mr. Farthinghouse, the board had had a public hearing to dispose of surplus property
Right.
previously. Mr. Farthing's opinion is that it needs to be, if you're going to do it on an annual basis, or identify that property specifically
Right.
to do that.
I know a lot more than I did a few minutes ago. One question, is that payment in escrow now?
Payments in the county bank account.
Okay.
Mr. Smith was going to hold the money until that happened, and then he decided to go ahead and, pay the county the money. So,
But three bids, right? And Smith Enterprises was the highest bid.
Yes.
And everybody was operating under the same information.
Did the hospital and Mount Rogers have an opportunity to bid, or did they bid?
They did.
Yes, they did bid.
They did bid. So really, at this point, if we reopen it, everybody kind of knows what everybody's bid, and it's not really fair.
Well, the only thinking I'm thinking, and maybe I'm a little greedy, if we did reopen it, I assume the bids are going to be higher, and the county's going to come out ahead.
Not necessarily.
All right?
When this gentleman from the hospital started talking about the foundation, if that foundation thing goes through, will they pay property tax or not? Mount Rogers won't pay any taxes on that property.
Actually, the way the hospital operates, they pay taxes on every property they lease. That's the way I understand it. Mount Rogers does not. They're government-owned.
Yes, sir. Well,
Yeah.
I closed the public hearing, but I will reopen it. I feel like this is yes, sir, Tim. Come forward. You can speak from there or come forward. I don't.
Okay. I appreciate the willingness to come back again and maybe answer some of these questions. We are taxpayers at the hospital because we are not-for-profit. The foundation came about as a result of a relationship between LifePoint and this community. And what they did was they gave $50 million as a prepaid lease and created the foundation. A holding company was created for about 3 years to get all the loose ends tied up. And so when the foundation was created, there were a few rules. One is you can only provide monies to 501c3s and not-for-profits. The other rule is you can't give anything to the hospital because the hospital is a tax-paying entity. So in this case, we would pay taxes because I represent not only the Board of Trustees and the 428 families that we feed, but also LifePoint Hospitals located in Brentwood, Tennessee. We are, clearly we're all under a different understanding. I think you made the point was very clear, and your question was a great one. The truth of the matter is that Mount Rogers was under the impression that they had a right of first refusal, and I had an impression that we had an opportunity to do that, to purchase this property because we have a vested interest in the community. So when we do the prepaid lease, not only will we put a service in there that services the community, but we'll put money in the foundation that continues to service. So it's almost a threefold thing. You get tax dollars out of the deal. The community gets a service. The service that I put in there was a center for pain relief, and this is for doctors who have are board certified and residency trained and interventional pain management, which means they get patients off of pain medications, get them back into the community and potentially back into the workforce, either here in Wytheville or other areas. And then, of course, the third piece would be the money that goes directly, the $500,000 or whatever it will be going forward, if you should decide to reopen these bids, will go back into the community. So there's a real value for the hospital to have this. Not that Mount Rogers doesn't bring a great deal to the table, and I have a huge respect for the work that they do. It is tremendous what they offer our community. And I certainly, again, I'm not trying to give Mr. Smith or Smith Industries a black eye. I'm just telling you that this thing was done in a way that you probably wished it hadn't been done. You know, when I thought about this thing and I found out about it, I remember my grandfather, who was a very uneducated coal miner, who told me, son, if you make a mistake, it's not a problem. The problem is when you don't go back and make it right. So when you go back and make it right, start from the beginning and make it right, and that's the true character of man, and that's what I'm asking this supervisory report to think about. If you got the cart before the horse, that's not a problem. The problem is how you going to make it right. You know, and the truth of the matter is, we know where the minimum bid is. Everybody knows where the minimum bid is, and I don't think that's a bit ungracious on your part. I think it's probably a good business decision on your part to open this back up, and because clearly there will be more money on the table early on. I mean, it's just if there's any other information that I have that I can provide for you, please let me know.
I'm going to leave the public hearing open just for a second, if there's any other discussion that might be unclear to the board. Mr. Dalton, do you have any comments?
I only reiterate what Scott said. This is actually the public hearing is a benefit for Mr. Smith to get title insurance.
I would comment that, you know, the bidding process was the normal request for proposals the county always does. It was open to anybody to bid. Mount Rogers and the hospital both bid. Mr. Smith bid. He was the high bidder, and the county entered a contract with Mr. Smith to transfer the land. I don't think there's anything wrong with that process. The issue that we're fixing today is clarifying the title, not the bid process. So,
You're going to represent the community, individuals in the community. That's a pretty good precedent to set. So if I have property that I want to sell, you'll represent me as well. If you'll represent Bill in this manner, because this is either property you own or you don't own. And if you don't own it, you're representing him. As so Mr. Dalton says, we want to just do this for Bill today, then I would expect this precedent to continue on for all of the members of the community.
First of all, I'm not sure where the idea, you know, came that the board has made a mistake. I mean, we declared this surplus property. We went through the bidding procedure. 3 people bid. Smith Enterprises had the highest bid. Right now, the only information that I see that, but Mount Rogers and the hospital has that's different is that they know that they didn't get the bid. I can't, and you know, pardon me, but I can't see why we would want to do anything different than what we have, what we've done to be fair to anybody. Because if we were to do this during this bidding process, then I'm afraid that would open us up to any time that people didn't get a bid, they would come back and say, well, we'd like for you to reopen it to give us another opportunity, and that's, I'm afraid that's a bad precedent to set.
And I must be mistaken, I'm sorry. I thought there was a responsibility to have a hearing prior to the bidding process, and I stand corrected. I apologize.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Tim?
No, we had a public hearing on disposing of county property, didn't we?
No,
Or did we?
in a general sense, about a year ago, or maybe a little more, we had a general public hearing that we were going to, Progress Park, county property, we were going to dispose of. When Scott called me, he said we need to be specific with this public hearing. I didn't attend the closing, I'd signed the papers prior, as long as it was Mr. McDaniel. And my understanding of this whole issue was on the specifics of this, to hold a public hearing, to confirm this whole issue. As far as we've been, the board declared it surplus. We had held a generic public hearing long ago. The county attorney's opinion of holding specific and putting that in there is valid, and as I told a couple of people when I talked to them about this subject, that the county attorney says do it, that's what we're going to do.
Can I ask a question about whether there's a requirement when you hold a public hearing of that nature to say what your surplus property is, that you name the surplus property, that you would be requesting or opening up for public comment on?
I would have to review the statute to answer that question. I'm not sure that it has to be specific. With real estate, I believe the real estate, which is why we're doing this, is that it needs to be somewhat specific with the real estate as to what's being sold.
My point in bringing that up is that have that public hearing specify the health department, the previous public hearing, I would have been here to have commented at that point as well too. And I think we might have shared information with you today in this public hearing that was additional information that may have been presented in our proposals. And that may have been something we would have been responsible for that we communicated in this ordinance.
Can we also assume that generic hearing that took place over a year ago will also cover any future selling of any property that the county may have? That
Well, I
we
think-
can go back to that particular date and time and say, now that we have this for sale, that was the hearing that we could have spoken.
There's a
Farley
diff-
said he would review those statutes.
I will. There's a difference between surplus personal property and real estate as far as what's required in the public hearing process. So if you're selling old vehicles, like a sheriff's car or something like that, then it's a different process than it is with real estate.
Yeah, but
I don't want to get in a dialogue, folks.
Right.
I'll try to handle it. I reopen public hearing just to give you an opportunity, but not to get a chance to get a dialogue. If there's any point that you can make that this board would help make a decision, then I appreciate it, but not a dialogue. Hope you understand where I'm coming
We
from.
apologize.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, just one other comment. The code does not require that the public hearing be held prior to the bidding process. It's just the public hearing needs to be held before the land is transferred. So you could potentially have the bids, and before you close on the transaction, then you have that public hearing prior to actually transferring the land. So it's not a requirement that you have the public hearing prior to asking for bids, that I recall. I mean, I can look at it to make sure, just as a clarification point.
All right. I'm going to give you one last chance, and I'm going to close. Tim, yeah, go ahead.
You're a good man, a very patient man as well. I appreciate that.
No, he's not.
My last question, are the bids closed?
Are the bids closed?
The statement was you can have a bidding and not close the bids and have a hearing. And I was making the assumption today that that's what we're doing. And so my question then is that process, are the bids closed? And that
I would
means
assume,
something-
based on the information that the attorney is, he thinks that they're closed. That's what I'm assuming.
And that was clarified in the request for bids,
Yeah.
as far as what the deadline was.
Does that answer your question?
It is.
Okay. Ms. Moore, do you have anything else? All right, public hearing's closed again. Gentlemen, y'all have any comments?
Do you intend to discuss this further in closed session?
We can, that's it. Do you feel more comfortable before we make a decision?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right, we will have a closed session at the end of the day today, to discuss this. We will move now to minutes of the previous meeting, minutes of July the 9th, 2013. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Are there any additions or corrections?
Thank you.
Seeing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye, thank you. We will move to payment of invoices.
They don't have any requirements to hold any public.
Chairman, I make a motion to pay the invoices.
I have a motion to pay. Is there a second?
Second.
Anyone
No,
question
I mean,
any of
for
the
future.
invoices? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye. Aye.
And aye. Motion passes
Dispose of
7-0.
land in it for any purpose, anything.
Unfinished business, and I think we have some unfinished business, tourism strategic plan. Mr. Dalton says information will be discussed at this meeting.
I would ask that the strategic plan be tabled.
Did you say be tabled?
Table.
Tabled.
Table?
Sounded like you said be taken, and I was
I
gonna say,
couldn't
taken
understand
where?
what you said.
Yeah.
Tabled.
Tabled, okay. Do we need that in a motion, or
Yeah, we need a table and a motion.
I would make a motion that we table it for now?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we table the tourism strategic plan for now. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes 7-0. Any other old business, Mr. Dalton?
No, sir.
Okay. Reports. And the first report is the treasurer, and I understand Mr. Crockett is not here. Mr. Dalton, would you want to make any comments concerning the treasurer's report?
Well, I think the end of the year report that you've got, actually, there's two things. The report is normal. We have good reserves as we speak. The second item is, under the Sam's report, is the delinquent taxes. We'd request that the Board of Supervisors authorize printing of the real estate unpaid delinquent taxes for 2012.
Anybody want to have a discussion, or can I have a motion on that?
Let's discuss it just a minute.
Sure.
We spent some time looking over that tax list, and that either needs cleaned up, forgot about. Some of them are 8 and 9 years old. Is that right, Mr. Reeves?
Yeah, some of them go back all the way to 2000. It's-
Is there some way that those should be handled, either aggressively go after the property or collecting those taxes?
We currently have a contract. Sam has got a list of getting almost 100, maybe, of properties that the attorney is filing papers on. So he is proceeding with that.
But is that for 1 year or for all that's delinquent?
All of it. Actually, that process is for over 3 years. You can't go after anybody until it's a certain age. The process you have today before you is this past year's delinquent taxes. To print them in the paper, that seems to bring a lot of people in to pay.
Well, as you scan that thing, you see a lot of LLCs, holding companies. I assume most of these are not local. So is there some method that you go after looking where these people are and do they pay the taxes?
Sam, from my understanding, gets a warrant and debt, follows the whole procedure in the Code of Virginia that allows step by step. These 1 year is a different kind of step. After they get 3 years, then you can actually John Wythe, I believe, is the company. His firm's doing that out of Texas, that's selling the property. Every time we go through this process, we collect several $100,000 of unpaid real estate taxes.
So all these that are listed here are the ones that are not current this year?
This year,
I mean, they may still owe for other back taxes, but
Yes.
these are all what they owe this year?
yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the treasurer to print in the newspaper the delinquencies.
The second?
Yeah.
I second it.
Moved and seconded that we do ask go forward with the printing of the names. Anybody have any more discussion on that matter? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you. The sheriff is not here. Ms. Barker, do you have anything? Nothing? Okay. Board of Supervisors? Let's see here. Punch my little button right, we'll go to Black Lake District.
I don't have anything except that I'll formally congratulate the chairman on the birth of his first grandson, Lawson Cooper McDaniel, and you tell Ellen I got his name in the minutes.
Okay.
But that's all I have.
West Whitfield,
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Fort Chisholm?
Don't have anything.
All right. Lead Mine?
Lead Mines had a request for putting a children at play sign in the slab down area. Said speed limit's 25, but they didn't know where to run 25.
The request for children in play, under state law now, is the person requesting has to pay for the full price of manufacturing and erecting the sign.
Approximately what does that cost? Do you have any idea?
The VDOT will be here a little later today.
But it ain't cheap because it's a state sign.
That's all I have.
Okay. Lead Mines? Okay, I got Fort Chisholm. Spiegel?
I don't have anything at this time.
Tim at large?
Just want to reiterate on the trash pickup. Had nothing but positive comments about it. They cleaned up several roadways. I don't know if they worked this past Saturday or not.
They did?
And I don't know where they worked at, but
Progress Park.
nothing but positive comments about it from the community.
Thank you. And East Whitfield appreciates the Black Lake, and we'll make sure that's spelled right.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much, and, it's about time I became a granddaddy. So thank you very much. All right, next we will move to reports. I've done reports.
New business.
We'll move to new business, right?
Committee reports, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't like the bookmark on this thing, Mr. Dalton, we gotta work on that.
Time we get it straightened out, you'll be gone.
That's close, that's true.
You just give it to your grandkid and he can figure it out.
All right, we'll go to committee reports. I can't find it right now.
Budget committees
Budget
first.
committees first, and I'll leave you looking.
At July 18th, 2013 meeting, the Budget Committee made the following recommendations. The first is to amend and appropriate $4,000 to 3506-42-820 to cover training and travel expenses for the Emergency Communication Center.
All right, you've heard the request. It does not require a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you, 7-0.
Second is to transfer $2,238 from the asset forfeiture account to 2201-48202 for the purchase of a new computer and printer for the Assistant Commonwealth Attorney, and to amend and appropriate that same amount.
Okay. Again, coming from committee, it needs no second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
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 And aye.
Third, to accept the burned one-time equipment grant in the amount of $35,000 and to amend and appropriate that same amount.
Again, coming from committee, needs no second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Horning?
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you.
And lastly, to accept the Victim Witness Program grant in the amount of $45,066.
Again, coming from committee, needs no second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Hall?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All right, Water Committee?
All right, the Water Committee met on July the 16th, 2013, and makes the following recommendations. To accept the commercial user permit proposal from S&S Engineering.
Needs no second. Any discussion concerning this? This does not involve money at this time, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Second is to authorize the county administrator to sign the entrance access agreement to the Fort Chiswell Sewer Treatment Plant as amended. It's basically giving a man permission to go down our driveway to get to his property to cut timber,
Okay.
if I remember right.
The second needs no, any discussion concerning this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And third is to amend and appropriate $74,000 from the water fund for the Long Meadows Water Project.
Second? Seeing none. Any discussion?
I do have one question. I think later on, and maybe this is under the county administrator report, there's some information about, did we get denied the grant for that?
We did.
How will that affect this motion, this?
Well, the board, or the water committee, and maybe the board, I can't remember if the board took action on this or not, but we had agreed a long time ago at Long Meadows, as they move forth, to provide housing in that end of the county for low to moderate income, to provide the water service to that subdivision. We sort of slowed the process down. I'd asked the board to allow us to make an application, and we held a public hearing to get a grant to provide water out to that community. And later on, we were denied. It didn't receive enough funding points to be funded. What this will do is they have 3 homes that people have been waiting to build homes till we receive the grant or not receive the grant. And we made that commitment, and now it's time to move forward, even though we didn't receive the grant. And we did some calculations, Mr. Hall, that it's build out, there'll be enough taxes that pays for this water line, plus the usage of it. That it's a positive economic impact for that end of the county as a whole, but specifically for that end of the county.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
So, will this put the line in?
It will.
Okay.
I will require a roll call vote. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
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 Aye. Passes 7-0.
And this will, matter of fact, we're issuing a change order to a current low bid contract. Of the 3 contractors we have out there currently, Speedwell, Old School, we picked the contractor that had the lowest unit price, and he's putting this in under a change order, which will come back to this board later on.
We'll move to Fire and Rescue.
The Fire and Rescue Committee met on July 15th, 2013, and made a recommendation to amend and appropriate $2,700 to move a radio tower from the retreat water tank to the water tank near Wythe Raceway to correct interference problems. Prior to the move, a test shall be performed to ensure that this new location delivers the required coverage. So we want to move it, but we'll test it out before we, spend the money.
Anybody have any questions concerning this? It does not need a second. It does involve money, Mr. Horn.
Aye.
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 And aye, thank you. Economic Development Committee.
Who's the chairman?
You want me to do that one? I can do it.
Okay.
Let's see, on July 2nd, 2013, the Economic Development Committee met and is recommending that the staff proceed with advertising for a request for proposal for an engineer planner for the interchange areas located between milepost 76 and milepost 86 on Interstate 81.
Coming from the committee, this is just a recommendation. Is there any discussion?
The theory behind that is that with the new authority for mixed beverages in that area, that it would be better for us to be ahead of the game with a plan for each one of those interchanges and as they move out of what should be in those areas and how it could positively impact instead of it just being a hodgepodge development as is. It'll give us a real plan of how to go about that and improve our tax revenue in the county.
I think it's good time thinking ahead.
It's a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach, and with that economic opportunity there, that I think is very sound that we have a plan.
Anyone else? I'll call for vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. County Administrator's Report.
The first item is an invitation to all the elected officials and appointed officials in the county for a breakfast with Morgan Griffith. That would be on August the 8th from 8 to 9 a.m. And that's over at the Meeting Center. If you would let us know, we'll send the list in for everybody, for all those that want to attend.
You just contact you or Mark.
Yeah, just send Martha an email. Be great.
All right, thank you.
The next item is a copy of a letter from Robinson Farmer Cox Associates about the county's cost allocation plan. That cost allocation plan assigns certain costs to the Department of Social Services in the building next door, and it provides us the ability to recoup some of those funds that we spend for our time and janitor's time, etc., in that facility. And the total allocated back to the DSS this year is $308,968. And that has been submitted to the federal office and state office, and DSS has signed off on that. The next item is a letter. We had made application for an additional school resource officer, and we were not funded for the additional school resource officer this year. Then the next letter is a letter of gratitude from Dr. Charlie Wythe down to college about your appointments. Next item is a letter of, as everyone we talked about and had a public hearing about our future indoor plumbing rehab and program. Mount Rogers became a regional basis instead of a county basis, and Mount Rogers went through the process and has chosen SERCAP, who was actually the provider we had selected in previous years. If you know anybody that needs indoor plumbing or a substantial rehabilitation of their home, that have inadequate facilities, and that could be if they've become handicapped or any other life-changing things in there. Next one is a letter from DHCD about our Slabtown project. We were 79 points shy of being funded for that project. And the next one is a letter for Long Meadows housing production, which was not funded either, with a fairly low score.
We knew this is just a formal letter.
This is
A
a formal
notified.
letter. We knew it, all part of the overall package. And the next item is a page 3 out of the revenue sharing funding allocation, state allocations. Wythe County has 4 projects funded in the revenue sharing for next year. One of those is preliminary design of Ely, for a connection to Ely Treacle Drive and Gator Lane from exit 41. A application for Bertha Farms Road. An application for Bearwalla, and an application for Connors Valley. So since the funding's in place, we will move forward with each and every one of those. The Bertha Farms and Bearwalla and Connors Valley, we need to have a meeting with the citizens of those roads.
I have a question about that.
All right.
Stephen's not here, but when that got put on hold until we got a determination about Bearwalla, whether it was going to qualify or not, I'd ask that he bring it back to the board and see if we could extend that payback period. And because if you extend those payback periods to what historically has been done, it makes these projects more doable. And have you been charging interest on that money?
We do.
So it's like having money in the bank, and if you change it a couple of years, it makes the projects doable. The annual payment on those tax bills is what it really amounts to. So I ask that you look at that with some help from Mr. Grant and see if we can extend that payback period and what the revenue to the county is going to be based on the fact that it's not a bad interest rate.
What would be your suggestions on lengthening it, Mr. Grant?
Well, what I talked to Stephen about was go from 12 to 15 years, and what y'all been doing is 7 to 10, isn't it?
7's been the longest one that we've ever done.
Didn't we have him to figure it at 10 and 12? I didn't.
He gave us a rough number, but it would take board action and to go that step, but it makes it doable. And everybody that don't know those, I'd really be glad to give them a tour once it quits raining and you can get over some of those roads. And there's got to be a lot of work done with the people, Mr. Chairman. This is a significant amount of money for the taxpayers.
So let me just authorize you to get back Stephen involved in that. That's what we did there.
Okay. Next item is a request for a street name. It's a road off of,
That'll take a motion.
it will.
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we accept the requested name change of Twisted Arrow Lane.
Mr. Dowling, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
7-0. County Attorney?
The item in the board package is just a notice of trial from the petition of Mr. Mark Clinton Bush. He bought a piece of property that had been foreclosed on from the bank at a pretty cheap price. And after the assessment was done, he filed this lawsuit challenging the assessed value of the property. He thinks the county assessed the property too high. So this is just setting the trial date for that case. Mr. Hickey plans to be there to testify as to how he determined the value. So we're just going to try the case. Mr. Bush is hanging his hat on the fact of this is what he paid for it, and that's fair market value, but my opinion is it wasn't an arm's length transaction. The bank was just trying to unload an asset from a foreclosure sale. But so it's just letting you know that that's going on, and there's a trial coming up in October. Yeah. Also, the other thing that I had handed out to you is, I guess the end of last month, there was a request made about the water system connection fees and then the sewer system connection fees, about if you're below the poverty level, could we have a reduced rate, and how do we need to do that? In my review of the ordinances, both those ordinances say the Board of Supervisors set the connection fee and the rates by resolution after a public hearing. So the ordinance does not need to be amended to set the rates or the connection fees. Current practice is the water system, if you put in a new water line, someone below the poverty level can make an application to make sure they qualify, and then that connection fee gets reduced significantly for that person. I assume that was done with a resolution. I think with the last water project, it was kind of bundled in with one of those public hearings. So if you wanted to do that for the sewer or the wastewater lines, you could do that as well. It appears the water connections for that reduced rate for the poverty level only applies to newly installed water lines. At least that's the way the staff is implementing that. So, whether the board wants to consider doing that for any connection along any existing water line, as well as a wastewater line. So I think the board has fairly broad opportunities or options at this point. But the way that would be done is figure out what you want to do, advertise a public hearing to change the connection fee or the rate, or to allow an exception or an application for someone below the poverty level. You have the public hearing, then you pass the resolution setting that rate or connection fee amount. So you don't have to amend the ordinance to do it.
Anybody from Water Committee, any suggestions on that? Just to set it up, does it sound right to set that?
Well, I think our basic premise was that we matched the wastewater with the water.
Right.
And so whatever we're doing with the water connections, we just mirror that with the wastewater. So that was what our intent was. Now, and if we need to do that by resolution, then I would make a motion that we write a resolution, for consideration for adoption.
So, a resolution to set a public hearing.
Yes, sir.
You need to have a public hearing first to change the connection
Right.
fee, or to make an exception to the connection fee for a potential reduced connection fee or something like that.
And I think we do need to make it for existing water lines too, not only new water lines,
You're
but
talking
also
about
existing.
the poverty level.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any objection to that.
So you can have one public hearing to, I guess, clarify what this reduced connection fee applies to all water lines and all wastewater lines.
Well,
And
and
pass a resolution.
so we have two issues. One is a reduced rate for new construction for wastewater, and then we will have the reduced rate even farther for those that meet that certain criteria. And from what you're suggesting is if they meet that criteria on any connection.
You say reduced rate, that's if you connect on the new line within 90 days, you get a lower connection fee. Is that what you're talking about? For the wastewater?
For wastewater, yes.
Okay.
Just to mirror what we're doing with with the water connection fee.
And changing the connection on new water lines that the property rate, lowered the rate, is on all existing lines.
Just
If
on-
you're below
just-
the
just
poverty
for-
level.
If you're below poverty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think that we were looking at what is 120, 130% of the poverty level, limited access in the bank, limited assets in the bank. So it would be whatever that is for the water. Again, I can't remember if it's 120 or 130% poverty level. It was set to go kind of along the same lines as free and reduced price lunch at school.
Yeah, there's a formula
Mhm.
that we had.
And that's in the application form. It asks for assets and income for everybody in the household and stuff like that.
So is there a motion to set a public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, later, and I agree with public hearing, later on, we've had, I think, a couple items from the health department about offering us Jackson School and some funding. As part of that, I'd ask that, as part of that loan agreements and things that are coming forth with Berrien Springs, there's some directions from the health department and rural development that we adjust our water rates. So if we just have all that at one time
Okay,
and
and
work,
everything is a public hearing.
and work with the water committee to look at that, so we get it.
Can I have a motion to include all that and set the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
When can we have a public hearing, John?
Day meeting in August.
Day meeting in August, set the day meeting in August. All right, everyone, any more discussion concerning the public hearing? Seeing none, all in favor of setting the public hearing, say aye. Aye. We ready to move to new business? All right. Move to new business, and the first order is the consent calendar. Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept consent.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. There is a motion and a second to accept the consent calendar for July 23rd. Anyone have any discussion on anything in the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 And aye. Okay. Moving down to the Public Information Officer, Jeremy.
While Jeremy's handing that out, he's got some great ideas. Ask that y'all listen closely how we're going to change and how he's going to make us more marketable here and open with all of our, get the word out to more people here in the county.
Okay, I appreciate everyone taking the opportunity to hear what I have to say today. Basically, I just wanted to give you an outline as to where we are in the department since I've taken over and where we plan to go in the future with your help. Page number 2, just to give you an update with the grants where we are. In the opening days of June, there were a significant number of grants which were either unfinalized or stood in need of additional clarification. And thanks to the assistance of Mr. Ike Davidson and Mr. Bruce Grant, the department was able to significantly reduce the number of grants, of unfinalized grants, as well as work more closely with the grant awarding organizations. The details are included there on that page. If you're interested, you can read it on your own time, but I just want to give you an update as to where we are with the grants. The Phase 2 of the Stormwater Management Grant, we have applied for that grant, and we should know something this coming month in August. And so Mr. Vaughn was very helpful with that, so I wanted to mention him. Page 3, press releases. The department averages sending out approximately 2 to 3 press releases each week, and thus far the most widely dispersed release has been concerning the county's inmate litter pickup project. That has just received excellent response from local media outlets. I think it was featured on Channel 7 in the evening and in the morning, and so the public at large, I haven't heard any negative response regarding that. So I think Southwest Times of Pulaski, they ran an article on it as well, so it's attracted regional attention, and so that's good for the county. Page number 4, really what I wanted to speak about today is the social media policy of the county. Since hired, the department has become proactive in obtaining new Facebook followers, as the social media site allows the county virtually instantaneous access to communicate with thousands of local residents. You can see there the number of people that we're reaching on Facebook. I've downloaded from Facebook the social media website's numbers, and if you'll notice, through the month of July, we've reached some pretty high numbers with Wythe County news and information. Presently, the county has over 3,100 individual Facebook followers. After seeing the content posted by the county, these individuals then have the opportunity to repost the content so that everyone in their circle of friends can see it. And this process of users sharing information often has a snowballing effect. As more and more people see the post, more and more people share the post. And this activity is known as going viral and has enabled the county to reach over 30,000 different individuals on Facebook alone this month. And what are we reaching them with? We're reaching them with different articles. Any press release that we send out to the news websites and to the news organizations, we're also sharing it on Facebook, and we're sharing it with the public at large. And through that, we've been able to reach 30,000 different people. And so that's, if you're looking at the numbers, that's 100% of the county. But I have a breakdown I've sent to Mr. Dalton, and if you're interested, I can give you the geographic breakdown as to where our followers are from. I think roughly 50%, 48% are Wythe County residents. Also, the demographic breakdown of the county's 3,100 Facebook followers is presented below. One thing I thought was very interesting, the county has 3.5 times more followers over the age of 65 than under the age of 18. And so that's a number of different reasons, but the crowd over 65, we're actually reaching 7%. They make up 7% of our followers. Not only that, over 67% of the county's Facebook followers are between the age of 25 and 54. And so theoretically, that is our target audience, and we're reaching 67%. That's who we're reaching. The county has 2 times the number of female followers than male followers, and so I will let you deduce from that whatever you would like to, but 2 times the number of female followers than male followers. On page number 5, the strategy of increasing the county's Facebook reach proved to be especially useful on Independence Day. On that day, the county was able to stifle rumors that were going around that the fireworks show had been canceled due to inclement weather. Somebody called me and said, well, I heard that they've canceled the fireworks show because of the rain. And then I saw somebody else was talking about that, and so I immediately put a post on Facebook. And if you'll see the circle there, we reached 10,020 people with that one post. And so 10,020 people on Independence Day saw that the fireworks were still a go, and so that helps the county. Clarifying misinformation is something that's very useful and very necessary sometimes, and social media has allowed us the opportunity to do that. Regarding With the News, previously the county has been printing and distributing a total of 550 hard copy newsletters each month. These newsletters have averaged roughly 12 pages per issue, which equates to about 6,600 pages being printed each month. These are color pages. The cost of printing 6,600 color pages equals to about $400. This number does not include the price of gasoline to cover the 125 miles required to deliver the newsletters, and nor does it include the over 40 man-hours involved in creating, printing, delivering a single issue of the newsletter. And so in an effort to curb the costs on page number 6, in an effort to curb the costs associated with printing nearly 80,000 color sheets per year, the department is requesting the board to consider drawing back the monthly publication to a quarterly newsletter. And such a move would save the county approximately $4,000 each year and would essentially create an additional work week for the department each month. The additional time created could be used more efficiently to communicate with people the county's message, as well as devote more time towards researching and pursuing other grant opportunities. Additionally, I have reached out to Mary Kegley. She is interested in becoming a content provider for the newsletter, and she's going to supply the county with news articles regarding Wythe County history. And so I think that's a great partnership for the county to be a part of. The ultimate goal is to keep the newsletters in their hard copy form, but at the same time ensure that costs are kept to a minimum. And I just don't feel comfortable devoting 40 hours a month to printing a newsletter whenever there's so many other important things that we can do. And this is 80,000 color sheets we're printing a month just on this. And so, like I said, our ultimate goal is to keep the newsletters in our hard copy form, but ensuring costs are kept to a minimum, and each issue is rich in a diverse assortment of content. A second thing that we have done is we have created withthenews.com, and this is an online version of the hard copy newsletter. And they're not competing against each other. It's not that we're trying to promote the website past the hard copy newsletter, but they can go side by side. One thing about the hard copy newsletter that is a disadvantage is if something exciting happens today or something newsworthy happens today, it really won't go out until September. And so that's an issue and that's a problem because by the time it goes out, it's old news and it's really forgotten. It's a back page story. Withthenews.com enables us to instantaneously put that article on the internet, and I mean, you've seen the numbers yourself, reach a significant number of people, and best of all, we can do it free of charge. To better utilize the county's extensive Facebook reach, we created withthenews.com, and I've told you about all that. In its first week, a single article posted on the website was seen by over 800 individuals, and additional articles are averaging 600 unique views per article. And so that's the first thing I just wanted to speak about was trying to make sure that we're taking advantage of all of the resources available to us. It would be a shame to have the opportunity to reach 10,000 people every day and not take advantage of it. And so that's something that I would request you to consider. A second thing is Wythe County promotional videos. I was amazed whenever I arrived at the incredible resources that are available. We have the resources to put out high-quality HD video for the county. And these videos are limitless in their scope and can be used to promote historical landmarks, industrial parks, new communities, commerce corridors, dozens of other entities in hopes of increasing the overall value of the county. And so what I'm just asking the board to consider, and just something I'm going to run past you, is becoming proactive in not only we're publishing and broadcasting the Board of Supervisors meetings, but maybe trying to promote and publish things that might be a bit more exciting for people. I think, now my wife and I, we gather around and we watch Mr. Hausman with his Board of Supervisor meeting, but I don't know that many other people do, and I hate to break that to you, but yes, we do. You don't do that, yeah, well, we did. We get the popcorn out and everything, and so, and I'm lying too, but please forgive me. But what I'd like, though, is we have a lot of opportunities in this county. We have a lot of historical landmarks. We have a lot of just incredible things in this county. Whether you like history, whether you like shopping, whatever you like, we have here. And one thing that I'm proposing and one thing that I'm considering is the byways. They circle Wythe County. They run through the heart of Rural Retreat. They run through the heart of Wytheville. They run through Progress Park. They run through the historical sections of the county, Shot Tower, Foster Falls, that area, Stephen F. Austin. And what I'd like to do is create a video where we go through basically pointing out and just highlighting and spotlighting the many things that Wythe County has to offer. You see states doing it all the time, open for business. And Wythe County putting together a video series showing how Wythe County is not only open for business, but it's a great place to come and stay, and it's a great place to visit personally. And so the byway video, I have here the map of the outline of the byways in Wythe County. And if you can look, I mean, it goes through Progress Park, it goes through across all the interstates in the county, it goes through all the historical sections, and taking advantage of that and doing more to ensure that we're doing all that we can to make Wythe County really show forth the value that Wythe County truly has. And then last thing on page number 8, additional videos. Once the byway video has been completed, the department hopes to begin featuring specific attractions and destinations in promotional videos, which can be used for a variety of purposes. And specific video ideas include the lead mine, Shot Tower iron furnaces, Stephen F. Austin Memorial, New River Trail, Wyrick Springs, unique businesses located within the county. Those are listed, Progress Park. The scope and the possibilities are limitless. And one thing that is unique about our culture and this generation is that the things that used to cost $20,000, $30,000, you can do for free. And it's a truly stunning time in our world. And I'd like to see the county do more in order to take advantage of that. And so I appreciate your time, And if you have any questions,
I'll make a quick comment, just when Jeremy was talking about the Facebook, I know Gary is in that Facebook page, I think, but I've been sharing a lot of the things. He's been posting some pictures of the school construction, the inmate. People have responded on mine, so it goes out to my friends as well, and they see it, and then they can share that, and it really is effective in getting the message out there. And I've had a lot of positive comments about, you know, he's been putting in some pictures of different historical sites, but the school construction especially, you know, people have monitored that event for over a year now. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And to actually see the, you know, the work being done has been positive. So I appreciate you putting those pictures on. It makes it easier for me because I don't have to go out and take pictures and put them online.
I appreciate that. And one thing I'll add as well is that we are fully aware that you're not going to reach everyone with the internet. That's obviously the truth. Some people just don't like it. And so this isn't that we're forsaking and surrendering traditional means of promoting the county. This is just another opportunity and another instance where we can do more for the county. And so that's something to consider as well. But any other comments or questions?
I'm just going to say I'm very impressed, Jeremy, with what you've accomplished already.
I appreciate that, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
For this, I'm, the chart that you have,
Yes, sir.
that real big bump around July the 7th, that was from posting that information about the fireworks, you think?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
So anytime that we have, and I don't know what happened around June the 9th, but, do what?
I was hired.
Oh. Okay, well, you see. Yeah, okay, well, yeah. That's good. I would expect it to be a little higher, but that's okay.
Well, I do what I can.
The other thing on page 5, that snippet that you had right there with county, and you've got it redlined, 10,020 people saw this post.
Yes, sir.
Over on the right-hand side of that, it says boost post. What exactly does that mean, Jeremy?
That is an option if you, Facebook is, they're hurting for money right now. And so they're trying to, Facebook is, something unique has happened with Facebook. They have done their job too well. And they've taken advantage of so many advertising opportunities that what they're asking for right here, you can click on that, and there's an option there where you can boost the post and actually spend money to do this. But what we've done here, this is all organic. Facebook is trying to request and drive getting more to the paying for it side of it, but that's what that is requesting, is that the county would open up an advertising campaign with them. So there's no need to boost the post, though, whenever you're reaching 10,000, I don't think.
Well, the other thing I'll say is that that big bump June 9th when he was hired. One of the things that you did in your application process that was that really impressed us was the video that you made. Basically, you were talking about the water around and everything like that. So these ideas of the 5-10 minute videos are great. The only thing, and I know that it's just a work in progress, but on the very last page when you have some video ideas to include, one thing that I like for you to include,
Yes,
maybe at the beginning is Rural Retreat Lake. Not because it's in my district, but because it's a tourist destination, and we have the pool and the lake and the campground and everything like that I think would have a tendency to draw people in.
absolutely. That's I think that's making my point altogether, is that with county, we could list, all of us could sit together and list all of the great things in this county that ought to be included, and we publish the work in its final process and come back to it and say, oh my goodness, we forgot this place. And that's a testimony to the county of what kind of county we have. We will certainly add that to the list, sir. Any other questions? Okay, I appreciate your time.
How long do we expect to be done until about 11 o'clock?
We don't. We have a representative from Chantel,
I
I believe,
assume
here.
That's right. Gentlemen, if you'd like to come forward, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Bill Gilliam. I'm from Chantel, and thank you very much for the invitation to come down.
Today, we're going to talk a little bit about an exciting project we've got going on in Rural Retreat. We're actually in the midst of a construction project down there, and we're building new networks down there. You can see the map up there. A little bit about Chantel first, though. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with Chantel. We've been doing business in Virginia for 110 years. We're headquartered in Edinburgh, in Northern Virginia. We got our start in 1902 providing phone services to farms and rural communities. That's kind of how we became a company and how we kind of earned our living in the early days. And we've grown into really a 3 or 4 state provider now with operations, both wireless. We're doing wireless operations with Sprint, take care of cell towers, and we're a Sprint affiliate. But we also, a big part of our vision and mission is to build out to additional rural communities, kind of how we got our start over 100 years ago. And Rural Retreat, a project came to us this past year. A gentleman that used to run the cable system down there is retiring. Little private cable system, hasn't been really upgraded in about 40 years, so it's only got about 30 channels. And what we're going to do is build out across about 1,500 homes, a little over 1,500 homes and businesses, a fiber to the home and a fiber to the business network. And then we'll be able to start offering in fall up to 50 meg internet services, over 200 cables of 200 digital cable channels, and telephone service. So it's really kind of a second choice for the consumers out there. And I think we'll make a great partner for new business development and being able to grow new businesses, because if you bring broadband services to an area, we've noticed that you see a lot more business growth opportunities. And businesses need communications to be able to function and work out there. And Chantel's excited about being able to provide those to the Rural Retreat community. Any questions I could entertain about that? Any?
One of the reasons we invited Chantel here today, and we appreciate you coming, I guess as we were riding around the county, I call it quarter vision, Rural Retreat Cable TV had an ordinance that allowed them certain sections of the county, including we had a map in there. And Chantel, we greatly appreciate you extending out. I think there's a little process that we need to provide them the extended service there. Just to be sure we cross our I's and cross our T's on this project. And we'd like for you to extend it beyond that map.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Well, a lot of what we do too, I mean, to give you a little background, I came on board about 3 years ago with Chantel as part of the development in Southern Virginia. And I'm the director of operations. And every year we've built about 1,500 to 2,000 new homes and businesses. And sometimes it's just a small little cul-de-sac, and sometimes we get the opportunity to build a whole community like this. So a lot of it, as people call, and if you have areas that you want us to take a look at, we'd love to take a look at them.
Well, we currently have a defunct cable TV company that was in Speedwell, Virginia.
Yeah.
They just
call it defunct. Nobody knows who they are or where they're at.
They're hidden. But
they just walked away from it. Speedwell had a pretty vibrant cable TV company until they just quit maintaining the system. And we'd like to at least have a discussion with you.
Sure.
About that area too, if you're open to that.
Yeah, we'd love to. We'd love to. That's kind of how we grow. And we stay out of the big metro markets. Our business plan is to stay in small rural communities like Wythe, like Rural Retreat, and that's kind of how we grow our business. And what we're providing, both in Wythe and Rural Retreat, is services that you'd see in Chicago or New York City. I mean, it's the kind of broadband services you'd see in the large metro markets that really have not been available in some of the smaller communities. And we see that as really kind of a win-win. It's a win for us business-wise, but it's a good win for the community too. It's bringing broadband to rural communities that have never had it before. And some of the speeds and the networks and the backbones, we're spending tens of millions of dollars in upgrading what we provide out there so that it's really state-of-the-art, and that the rural communities can see exactly what a Chicago or New York has and have that kind of services available at their back door.
Currently, you're serving the town of Wythe, and the little area is right outside of it.
Yes, sir, and we got a payment office, a customer service office just down the street, right behind Long John Silver's. There's a payment office down there.
This map didn't quite connect the two systems.
Yeah, and there's a fiber run on that long road kind of coming towards Wytheville. That's our main fiber connection that connects the two, and we'll pick up any businesses or homes along the way there too.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it'd be, I think, in all of us' best interest to look at service area.
Yeah.
Work with Chantel to see what service area.
They would like to have and what they can provide to the county, if we can.
Yeah, we appreciate that opportunity. Like I say, we live in the neighborhood, we're local, we're not a large national company, and we kind of grew up in Virginia. That's our headquarters in Virginia, and that's where we kind of earned our living, was starting with small rural communities and doing that over 100 years ago.
One thing I'd request is if you could provide us too with just, a copy of the channels that you'll provide in cable TV.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people will,
Yeah.
will want to know that.
Yeah, and the same one, if you actually set the payment off, and it's probably online too, and I'd be glad to provide copies. It's whatever the Wytheville lineup is, that's what Rural Retreat will see. And then we're trying to bring in 1 or 2 local channels or some local preferences out of Bristol area that we're trying to see if we can get rights to distribute those. Porter is distributing some of those, but I'm not sure he is officially distributing them. He's picked those up and distributed them because he's a private operator. We have to kind of go through formal channels to make sure we're allowed to distribute those, but we're working on it because we've heard the customers want them.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Dalton, as we're starting down this road for the corridor development and that plan, can we incorporate Chantel, because we've got the fiber available there? We want to develop a good business atmosphere.
Sure.
And that's what, 11 miles long, something?
Actually, that area is Citizens Service Area.
The whole thing?
Yes. From Wytheville eastward and north.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you've seen our footprint. We'll be glad to share maps what we have in Wytheville too. And we do fiber to circuits too, so in addition to just traditional residential service, if you've got a large center that needs a fiber connection, we can do that too, just like any commercial carrier.
Next one of those commercials, do you show that Chantel? Put a picture of Wythe County.
That's what we need, some local pictures. We got it, in Wythe County, feature. Rural Retreat.
I've seen that commercial 1,000,000 times. It's a great commercial.
Yep. Everybody likes that little song we got.
It is.
It's a nice little jingle.
It gets in your head really bad.
That's good. That's what the marketing like hearing that. They like hearing that. It's even got me humming it when I'm driving to work every once in a while, which is good. But we're very excited, and this is, like I said, about 1,550 homes and businesses. It'll cover most of the areas, and then we're very interested in hearing about other communities
Okay.
that we can build to.
If, Mr. Chairman, if you may, if you'd allow maybe the Budget Committee to work, or the Economic Development, whichever one you'd like, to invite them to a committee meeting and sort of work on the maps and get this.
Probably budget's overloaded, let's do it with economic development.
Okay.
Yeah, anything we can do to attract new businesses to the area with you too, that's a great opportunity for both.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Mr. Dalton, I guess we're down to the end of the agenda. VDOT should be here next year. Is it appropriate now for us to go into a closed session?
Do you want to finish up the rest of the new business before you do that?
Well, the only thing I'm showing is
Joint meeting.
joint meeting.
Which is canceled.
Which is canceled, so I assume that we're
We don't
ready.
have to discuss that then, do we?
I don't think any of us oppose.
No, that'd be fine.
Let's go ahead and do it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I do have one with information. I seen in the paper where they did indict Mr. Riddle. The grand jury did indict Mr. Riddle.
We did?
Lawrence Swain.
That was in the informational letter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did he respond whatsoever to any letters that he received or anything?
No, I assume he'll respond to the.
Yeah, or they'll go pick him up.
Pick him up. But on that same effect, you had, I think everybody saw that we had offers from the Health Department for Barron Springs and Jackson Elementary. We have an appointment with the Health Department to negotiate the contract for both Barron Springs and the Health Department on, I think it's August the 13th in Abington, to move those two projects forward.
Somebody have the information that, what
Mhm.
We're going to under disposal of public property.
Potential litigation or discussion with the county attorney. I think that.
Do you have that laying in there?
Usually he's laying in.
Here's the
It's
reader.
laying up there.
Yeah, Gary's out of there.
Okay.
Personnel's A1. A3.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into closed session for the discussions relating to the acquisition or disposition of real property pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia.
I think you need to go under potential litigation.
And potential litigation.
Okay. And also, under, for consultation and briefings by legal counsel, consultants, or staff members pertaining to actual or probable litigation or other legal matters pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia. Is that what I got? Okay.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Now, for a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Aye.